How's it going, people? Welcome back to AFTV and welcome back to Fourever Arsenal podcast, usually exclusive to AFTV VIP. But today we're here live on YouTube, start of the season round the corner. We thought, why not? We might as well engage with the fans a little bit and see what you guys are thinking prior to the Brentford game. And with some might say positive breaking news today, some might say negative. We'll get into it shortly. James, you all right there?
I'm good, man. How are you?
Well, I was about to say can't complain, and I'll go
I'm
into
sure
complaining.
we'll be complaining a little bit on this
But aside from Arsenal, can't complain. Lee, how's it going, mate?
Oh, fantastic. Arsenal spending money. I love it. I might actually get my shirt come the end of the transfer window. You never know.
You're going to get a goalkeeper shirt with Ramsdale on it.
Well, I will certainly not be getting one of those. I can guarantee.
Say no more. Jordan, what are you saying in the building? You all good, yeah?
Starting, bro. Yeah, man. I'm nervous the weekend, but let's get it done. Let's go.
Yeah.
I'm good, but I'm good.
Because today's show was going to be mainly about, Brentford and the start of the season. The transfer window's still got a few weeks left of it. But today, Chris Wheatley, who, a lot of people hold in high regard in terms of Arsenal news and whatnot, he's come out talking about Arsenal are in advanced talks with Aaron Ramsdale. Apparently, there was a breakthrough last night with Sheffield United. 24 million deal rumored to be. James, let's touch in on you with that news first and get your thoughts on it.
Well, you can be the hopeless optimist, or you can look at the hard facts with this deal. We're about to spend 24 million with add-ons, supposedly rising quite a lot, for a goalkeeper who I think has done fine in the Premier League. I don't think he set the world light. I think he's had some good moments, but he has been relegated twice. Not his fault, of course. Not necessarily his fault. And we did let Martinez go. Emi Martinez, who's a Copa America winner. We let him go for less just a year ago. The feeling was we couldn't have them both in the squad. So that's clearly changed now. I want to always I'm always glass half full guy, and I always want to say that if we're about to spend 24 million on Aaron Ramsdale, 24 rising, whatever, that must mean we have money to spend. It must mean that there's money in the bank that Arteta can spend, and he feels that this is necessary and isn't ultimately going to affect our bids for Maddison or Odegaard or Bruno Guimaraes or whoever it's going to be, Lautaro Martinez, Tammy Abraham, whatever it's going to be. They clearly feel there's money aside. Well, that's my impression of it. But, I understand why Arsenal fans are feeling disappointed about it, because we lost a guy who'd been at the club for 8-10 years, however long Emi Martinez had been there, to a rival Premier League club who are now showing more ambition than us. And he could have been the guy. He'd proven he was probably the guy. And yeah, so I understand the pros and the cons to it all. I don't know.
Yeah, Lee, you had similar thoughts when we briefly discussed it before the show, in terms of you're not necessarily excited about an Aaron Ramsdale deal, but you're seeking excitement from the fact that we are spending some money. Me, I'll look at it like I've seen this club do stupid business before, and this could be just another case of stupid business, spending the majority of the money on positions we actually thought we had covered years back. Centre-back, we thought, William Saliba a couple of years ago would have been first team by now. And the goalkeeper situation last summer, we essentially made a decision where it was Leno or Martinez. Martinez was sold, Runnelston was brought in, and Runnelston was meant to be our backup keeper until they realized how big a mistake they made. Now, we go into a summer buying a centre-back in Ben White for 50 mil and what seems to be Aaron Ramsdale for 24 mil. Lee, I don't know.
Listen, I'm going to say it now. The board are backing this manager because ultimately he has made mistakes. The mistake was with the Martinez thing. We all know that was probably a mistake. But ultimately, let's take it in the bigger picture, in the complex of it all. Whatever way you look at it, I like Martinez as a goalkeeper, and I felt he should have been the number one. But Arteta couldn't guarantee him that for whatever reason. So he's decided to move on. Now he's bringing in Ramsdale. Ramsdale might be saying to himself, "Look, I'm prepared to battle it out. I'm prepared to battle it out with with Leno for the number 1 spot. So we'll see how it goes. So all of a sudden now we've got 2 goalkeepers that I'm certainly going to be this now, that come a game against Brentford, if Leno gets an injury or goes down, I'm not going to be worried too much about it now, because I feel we've got someone in the building now, which we didn't have the week before, you know, so that's being addressed. Ultimately, I don't care what anybody says. If Arsenal are spending 30 million pounds on a goalkeeper, 50 million on a central defender, and they do not have the money to go and get into the areas we need the midfielder, more and more creative midfielder, then they need to be sacked. So they will not make that mistake. There's guaranteed. There's no way that they will turn around this window. They will not have a midfield player in the building. Whether it won't be before Brentford, it'll be towards the end of the transfer window. But they will have something, because if they don't, it is just the club is a shambles. And I can tell you now, the people running Arsenal Football Club are not that poor. They might be poor and one or other, but they are not clinically insane.
Is that enough though, Jordan? You know, obviously, I get it. You know, we're spending money, I'd say, in the wrong places. Well, with Ben White, it's actually the right place, considering what happened with William Saliba. But with Ramsdale, to spend such an outlay after what happened in the last 12 months with Martinez and Runnison, will it be enough just to get that one midfielder that Lee expects in the next 3 weeks to say this transfer window has been a success?
Well, it's been a common theme to last year's. Lack of preparation for seasons has harmed us. With the last show we did, I talked about the fact that we could be 0 points on the board come the international break. And that is when the window closes. And for me, that then you're on the back foot big time already. That's top four. Top four won't happen anyway. But with that kind of start, that's top 4 gone already. The deal with this keeper that we've signed now, Ramsdale, it doesn't inspire me massively. I don't expect my number 2 to be a phenomenal goalkeeper. But as Lee says, there's something the worst does happen to your number 1, he can come in and do a job on the short term. Can he do that? Probably. But I also want someone to push Leno. I've got question marks around Leno. I think Leno's a good goalkeeper, but I think he needs pushing. Is this guy going to push Leno? I'm not so sure. But the bigger issue for me is we are spending money slowly, but the season starts Friday. Season starts on Friday. Why are we going to start first game of the season and there's still, for me, 3 spots that need to be filled? Right back, I'm going to right back in, a creative midfielder and a striker. I'm sorry, I've had big question marks over Aubameyang and Lacazette. This is one step being addressed, granted. But I think the bigger issue is why we, day before the season started, and signing a backup goalkeeper who, with all due respect, we could have got a month ago.
You know what? I understand the optimism. I can understand that. I'm not necessarily saying from you, Jordan, but more so from James and Lee, because we are spending some money in comparison to transfer windows gone by. It's just that we are also, in a sense, optimistic about expecting this club in the next 3 weeks to spend an amount of money that I don't think they've spent in a transfer window. Because if we're looking at a Maddison, let's say it's going to be 70, 60 mil. If it's an Odegaard and someone else, we're still looking at 60, 70 mil on 2 signings. And usually Arsenal spend around that, if not just a touch more, every summer in the past couple. Are we... I don't know what the next question is in terms of what do we do, because I always ask...
But Turkish, I get what you're saying, because what you're basically saying is we're reaching that point that we've seen in previous summers where Arsenal go, that's enough. We spent a lot, that'll do. And we've addressed none of the positions we thought we needed to address once the full-time whistle went at home to Brighton. Because at the time, we thought that William Saliba might be staying and therefore the centre-back issue wasn't a problem. So I get exactly what you're saying. But I'm with Lee in the sense that, listen, I always overestimate this club. Even when I think, surely surely they can't get this wrong. And somehow they do. But if we really are about to spend this kind of money on a centre-back, a goalkeeper, a backup left-back, although we can't ship Kolasinac, so now we have 3 left-backs. You know, do you know what I mean? And listen, Lokonga looks a really good bit of business. Lokonga actually looks a very shrewd signing, about 20 million, but I could see that if he keeps playing at this level and developing, he could be a 50, 60 million pound player one day. So that's fine. But I do get what you're saying, because we're sitting there going, thanks, Arsenal, you're spending money, that's great, showing some ambition to a degree, but we need a right back, we need a holding midfielder, we need number 10, and at a push, we need a striker. The thing that I find amazing about Arsenal is, if this Ramsdale thing is evidence that we have money to spend and that there's a big war chest and Arteta is going to get who he wants, normally most clubs who have that kind of money, they go and negotiation's not an issue. They come out and they go, right, what do you want from him? What do you want? Let's get it done. So actually, there's that side of things. What do we, I don't want to use the word penny pinching because it's a lot of money, but what are we trying to negotiate down from here? Like what? So we've got Ramsdale down to from 30 million to 24. Okay, that's a bit of money we've saved, but ultimately, do we not need him for the start of the season? We're still spending a lot as it is. Ben White, you know, they said we want 50 million. We said 40. They said no 50. All right, 45. No 50. So what are we getting for? 50. This is what I'm trying to say. Like, it feels like if you've got that amount of money, surely you just get your targets through the door. But I don't know. Maybe I don't know. It's a weird one.
I think you've got to, you know, that's what negotiations about. You know what you're going to spend, and you try and get it for a little bit cheaper. We're all like that, aren't we? Like, you know, I went in the Arsenal shop the other day trying to get the £100 shirt for 90. I didn't get it. You know what I mean? So I'll have to go back there with the £100. You know, that's how it is. But I think there's a good thing. I think the thing is also on this, and I think you've got to look at it like signing these sort of players. If you is also in the negotiations. Say if it is Maddison, say that. Well, I'm not too sure about coming to Arsenal. You know, lack of ambition. I would be like that as a player. I'd be thinking, you know, I'm not too sure about coming. You know, right? It's a great deal financially and all that. Like, all of a sudden, we're signing a few players that we're buying a goalkeeper for 30 million. We're buying a central defender for 50. We're going to do this. We're going to do that. All of a sudden, you think, do you know what? They are showing that. And what I see with Arsenal at the moment, I tweeted this out a little while ago. They're trying to get a base of players, of young English hungry players, to move it like, you know, a little bit like Ajax done a few years ago, and try and push these through players, young hungry players. If you add Saka, Smith Rowe to that as well, Balogun, as someone corrected me, is American, but I'm not so sure. So, you know, there is a big core of young English, British players, if you want to include Tierney in this as well. And that's the way that it seems that they're going to go forward. I quite like that idea, if I'll be honest. I'm buying. I know you ain't Turkish because you're Turkish, but and I buy. But like, I'm buying into I'm buying into this, like, you know what I mean?
Haven't we been here before, Lee? Don't you remember that famous Wenger picture with his arms around bloody Jenkinson, Gibbs, Oxlade, and Aaron Ramsey, and the British core? And the British core was created because Nasri, Fabregas, and these foreign players ended up ditching the club because they didn't know the British values and the values surrounding Arsenal. I've been there and saw that. That's my problem with it. Because yes, I like the young English players coming through, Emil Smith Rowe, Saka. I actually like the Ben White signing. He looks a decent prospect. You know, I haven't seen much of him. But at the same time, we need to give these young players some experience around. Instead, I'm hearing Rob Holding is part of the leadership group. Well, if the leadership group consists of people like Rob Holding and Granit Xhaka, then these young players are not going to want to be here in 2-3 years because we're not going to be competing for the majors. That's why even with these signings, as much as I look at Lokonga and say, you know, that's a decent looking player, Ben White, decent looking player, they're young players joining a squad that's only pro is young players. I like Thomas Partey, I like Kieran Tierney. I think they are the leaders to be in the next year or so. I hope, you know, Partey follows Tierney's lead in the way Tierney kind of looked around and grasped it and said, I need to be a leader here. I want Partey to do the same. But we can't expect these young players to keep on developing whilst throwing vast amount of pressure on their shoulders. And that's what I feel like we're doing again. That's my problem with it, Lee. You know, it's not like
I get what you're saying. I do get what you're saying, but what I think, and I'm just throwing it out here, like, you know what I mean, because I still think Arsenal have got nowhere near enough business done to challenge for what we want to do. But what Arsenal need to do is to go down a different road to the Chelsea and Manchester City route, because we can't go down that route. You know what I mean? It's no good going down that road. So we've got to look at, you know, all a different route to get to where we need to go. Now, you know, there's the motorway route is what Chelsea and Manchester City got. We might have to take a little country road here and there, like, and that's what I think that we're going to have to do. And we're going to have to, with a different project. Maybe that is why they've got Arteta in, because they know that is the project. Like, you know, I don't know. You know, it all depends on results. I know that, and I get that. But ultimately, this moment in time, if Arsenal, as I said, if Arsenal were to go and sign Maddison and Tammy Abrahams by the end of the window, along with what we got, I don't think that's a bad start.
As in, this window would have been the start to build on next window.
But my I agree with Lee, but my big issue is the fact that it's the timing. That all of this stuff could have been done weeks ago. Yeah. That's my big frustration. Why has it been done the week of the season starting? Do you know what I mean? Signing Messi, we're not signing. These aren't deals that, with all due respect, need weeks and time. And it's Ramsdale. This could have been done 3-4 weeks ago. So the signings coming in on paper are good signings, but you're into the season now. So that is my big frustration.
Yeah, I agree. Totally agree there. And that is the problem that you're looking at. And I get what everybody's saying about the season starts and everything like that. And just someone like just saying about, you know, why are we going on about Kroenke out and all that. Listen, Kroenke and the board and the owners and Arteta have to the 31st, in my opinion, the 31st of August, and we know exactly what I need to know about the ambition of this football club on that date. And until that date comes, I'm prepared to wait. Now, that's, as Jordan said, it's probably going to cost us 9 points. It may cost us 9 points. I don't know. But I'm prepared to wait to see what happens on the 31st of August. But I'll tell you what, if we at the end of the day do not sign the midfield players that we need, then I'll be straight in on it and venting my anger at the first available opportunity.
It's mad because that feels like the right thing to do. I know what you're saying, Lee. That feels like the right thing to do, to give them till the 31st of August. James, what was you going to say before I continue?
I was just going to say, I've seen suggestions from, I've seen suggestions from some just online that obviously since we appointed Richard Garlick, who used to work in the Premier League, you know, there's maybe a suggestion that with kind of apparently new Brexit laws coming in or something that impact the Premier League, maybe there's something around homegrown players that we don't know about. I don't know what that would be. I don't know how that would work. But it's just an interesting thought, because this was like a very targeted approach. Like James Maddison, the target, Ben White's in, Ramsdale's close. Obviously the new deals for Saka and Smith Rowe, because obviously they're real talents we want to keep. I don't know, the new deal for Holding, wanting to keep Chambers. I don't know if the Abraham link, is it just me who thinks that maybe there's something in that? Maybe there's something we don't know about, we're missing.
Listen, I wouldn't be surprised. Where there's one of them convenient deals to be made, I feel like Arsenal are always sniffing around that. And yes, some of them have worked out for us. But in my honest opinion, I think we need to clear the deck before we add some of these risky players on board. And I say that because Lacazette and Eddie are still here with 11 months to go on their contract. Oba's still here with 2 years to go on his contract, and we still don't know if he's going to rediscover his form. So right now, in all honesty, we need to be thinking about who's going to be our first choice striker in 22-23 season, next season. And I don't think getting Tammy Abraham this summer solves that. And getting Tammy Abraham this summer might potentially just add more mess to the rubbish already created. I'm not dissing Tammy Abraham as a player, but in all honesty, he's a backup striker for a top 4, top 6 club at best. And that's what he is right now. And they still want to sell him. So in my honest opinion, I wouldn't.
I agree with what you're saying there, but let's look at the facts. Let's just have a little look at Tammy Abrahams, right? People are criticising Tammy Abrahams, yeah, right? He ain't good enough for Arsenal. I understand the argument, but when he was under Frank Lampard, he got Chelsea to top 4. Not saying all on his own, but as a striker. Lacazette's not done that in the whole time he's been here. So I'd rather look at it and go, right, okay, this, you know, and we've seen the best of Lacazette as far as I'm concerned. He's in his 30s now. He ain't going to get no better. You know what I mean? Like, he's going to gradually get worse, like bloody Aubameyang is. So I think you've got to look at, and if Mikel Arteta wants him in, this is the thing. Everybody keeps saying it's not Mikel Arteta's players. Let him get his players in, and if he fails, he fails, and that's the end of him. Like, do you know what I mean? Like that's how I see it. Like, you know, I'm fed up with it. It's all if that's who he wants, then that's who he goes. And you live by the sword, die by the sword. That is my motto. As far as any manager's concerned, I don't think that Danny Abrahams is the worst player that we've ever signed from that point of view. So I look at it now and I think to myself, look, let's see what he does. And I'm with you on that. You know what I mean? Like, is he going to get us to the? But we're not actually a top 4 club at this moment in time. What we've got to do and what we've got to improve on is 8th. We've got to get. We're an 8th team at the minute. We've got to improve to get 4th. You know what I mean? Forget about the champion. In my opinion, and as bad as it is, forget about Champions League football. We're nowhere near that. But ultimately, we've got to try and bridge the gap from 8th to 4th. And if Tammy Abrahams is that guy, then so be it. For 1 season, 2 seasons, I don't care.
I think he's right. Sorry, Lee, to cut you there. I agree with you, Lee. I think I'm not a big fan of Tammy Abraham. And I've been quoted as saying a couple of years ago that I felt Tammy Abraham was a championship striker. Now, in the last couple of years, he's done really, really well. And he's proven that to be nonsense. And actually, he's a Premier League striker, albeit a bottom half Premier League striker. But I've spoken before about Arsenal humbling themselves and understanding where they are in the market and the ecosystem. Of all the strikers that Arsenal can realistically get, he's probably realistically the best we can get. If we're being honest, think of all the strikers that Arsenal can get, he's the best. He's the best. And I think in the right team, Tammy Abraham can get you 15 Premier League goals. I do believe that. Do I like him? Would I want him in an ideal world? No. I think we have to accept that he's not going to be an Aguero or a Kane. He will miss some one-on-ones. He will miss some sitters because he's not elite. But I think he can get you 15 goals. I think that he could be the bridge, as Lee says, between us getting from where we are now to where we want to be, which is give us a couple of years, give us 30 goals over 2 league seasons, get us back into that fourth spot, and then we can kick on and get an elite striker who can go to the next level. But for now, I can't think of many strikers that are gettable better than Tammy Abraham right now. I know, Turkish. I know.
This is right. Say if we could get to top, saying that Tammy, and I'm not saying Tammy, let's just say another striker gets us to top 4, right? Then you can go and get an elite one. That you know, like Calvin Lewin might have banged in 20, 30 goals in the next couple of seasons. You might be able to entice him. You might be able to, you know, things might have not gone well at Tottenham, at Manchester City for Harry Kane. We might be able to entice Harry Kane. You know what I mean? But like all these things can happen. But ultimately, we've got to get from one stage to the next. I know what you're saying, but who would you bring in?
And you know what my thing is, yeah, it's also how we conduct business. Like I mentioned, Lacazette and Eddie, they both got 11 months left. So let's say in the first, month of the transfer window, we showed our interest in Tammy Abraham, because if we are interested now, we must have been interested a few weeks ago at the start of the window and whatever. Why didn't we go sell Lacazette for about 10, 15 mil? He's got 11 months left, whatever. Go sell Eddie for 5, 10 mil. You make about 15 mil there from them two. And then if you're spending 30 on Tammy Abraham or 35, you take away the 15 and you look at it like, okay, it's 20 million. We let go of Lacazette and Eddie, and Tammy comes in as maybe a fresh striker, a different approach. Then I'm like, okay, but adding Tammy Abraham to the mess we already have and the contract situations we already have, I just can't get my head around it. Similar to Like we got a super chat here from Reese, and he says, I agree with Lee with our transfer philosophy. We need to go down the Leicester route and find the gems in European football. Well, I agree with that too. So I'd agree with Lee in that sense. But if this club were going down the Leicester route, then we would have sold Xhaka for 12 to 15 mil, and we would have been interested in Samari for 17 mil. Instead, we're re-signing Xhaka, and it's not like Roma are shy of money. They didn't want to spend over 15 million on Granit Xhaka, but they're willing to spend 35 million on Tammy Abraham. But we want to give Xhaka a pay rise. And now, for me, it's still too messy for me to kind of see a light at the end of this tunnel. Even being linked to Maddison, Tammy Abraham, and so on. I still don't see that light. James, you haven't said anything in a little while. You good over there?
Yeah, well, I'm a little bit worried about the lag on my end. That's why. Sorry.
Audio-wise, you're good. It's just the visuals.
Oh, okay, fine, good. Yeah, look, I echo everything you guys have been saying. I like Tammy Abraham. I don't love Tammy Abraham. I'm not like what. I think Cecil the other day on News Daily asked me a really good question, or at least it got me thinking about it in such a way. He said, has any of the business Arsenal have done so far, or supposedly looking to do, if you look at the transfer window and stuff, does it make sense? Like, does it have logic? Like, am I going, yep, we have this problem, we need to plug that gap, I get why we're going for that player. And a lot of it hasn't. So I'm really hoping that kind of something comes out of this that I didn't know. Like, maybe Aaron Ramsdale's a fantastic distributor and really good at claiming balls into the penalty area. Maybe Tammy Abraham is perfect for Arteta's system. Maybe there's things I don't know that I'm hoping I'll learn from this. Because at the moment, I will always back any player that comes in, I'll always back them and say, right, come on, let's hope you're brilliant. Let's see your best. But yeah, at the moment, a lot of it doesn't make a lot of sense to me. So I'm on edge about it a bit. But let's see where we are in a few weeks.
I just want to add on top of what I said before. Yeah, we've got a super chat here that's just reminded me from Toby. Why wouldn't we just promote Martinelli or Balogun? Our recruitment has been nothing short of shambolic. Tammy and Ramsdale are nowhere near good enough. And Martinelli and Balogun's a very good point too, because not only are Eddie and Laka with 11 months on their contract, Martinelli and Balogun have in the past year signed new contracts, long-term contracts, two players we want to see more of that in the last 8 Premier League games of the season where we had nothing to play for, we didn't see much of. And in pre-season, obviously with Martinelli away for Olympics, we haven't seen nothing of Balogun. So we've still got 2 young players there that, you know, Tammy Abraham potentially comes in and starts ahead of because we spent 35 million on him. And that might result in us losing Martinelli in 2 years or 1 year because he's not getting... It has to make sense. And that's what I'm struggling with. And we got a couple more super chats that I just want to get in before we do continue. And one says here from Andy, if it was Man United, Man City, Liverpool and Chelsea, would they accept Tammy Abraham? Lowering our standards when there were better gems like Patson Daka. And I think Lee mentioned that we have to and Jordan, we have to humble ourselves to know we're not a top 4 club anymore. And we've got to find the gems in Europe, like Reece said earlier, and like you're saying here, Andy. Regardless of who we start for them top 4 clubs, I'd still say there's players we can get that I'd definitely take that wouldn't start for them top 4 clubs. That I would have taken Buendia earlier in the window, and I don't think he starts for those 4 clubs. So there is players out there that wouldn't start for them that I think can bridge that gap. I just feel the same as you. Tammy Abraham, Patson Daka was there, and although we can't compare like for like because he hasn't come to the Premier League and done it, Daka was a more interesting prospect for me than Tammy Abraham because we've seen him do it. And we got another one here saying we buy players that have great potential, but most of them never meet that. If they went to another big club, they'd excel. Coaching at Arsenal is just far. And
I think that's the kind of the point that James made earlier on. James was saying he's quite excited about the signing of Tavares and Lukonga, and they did look good in pre-season. But again, I've seen this story before. The amount of good players we've bought, and I've seen them in pre-season. They look, oh yeah, we got this guy could be a player, and then they get Arsenalified. I call it Arsenalified. You get 10, 20, 25 games in, and you're like, hang on a minute, what's happened here? This guy's awful. And within a year, you're shipping them out. So I'm not going to boost up any of these players we've signed based on what I've seen in pre-season until they've had a year under their belt, at least. I'm still waiting for Pepe. I'm still waiting for Pepe 2 years in. So I think the recruitment is definitely an issue here. And just because you sign a good player, I remember Torreira, I was gassed. I was so gassed at the World Cup. It's like, we signed him. Just what we need. A little terrier, doesn't take any nonsense, can actually play a little bit as well. Where is he now? So I think there's definitely something in what the person has said there, in that we sign good players. That's not always the problem. It's, do we improve them? Do they fit into the system that enables them to do what they do well? And too often, the answer is no.
Yeah, Lee, you're a coach as well. You've done some coaching. Like, what's your opinion on how much effect that's had to, not only in the past season, but the past few seasons?
Well, I think it's a great point. I haven't been, this is one of my bugbears about being an Arsenal fan, a season ticket holder at this moment in time. I'm not getting value for my money in every sense, and I mean this by transfers, by the standard of coaching, because I don't see the coaching of the squad being good enough. If I'll be honest, I don't see players improving, which is what Jordan was just alluding to there. And these are all things. It's not just about getting results. You want to see things going on and better. And I don't see. I've watched Arsenal for 38 games last season, and I haven't seen an improvement from the first to the last. And I've watched pre-season, and I'm still seeing the same mistakes being made. So coaching does come into it, but there's going to be no excuses for Mikel Arteta if he gets his players in that he wants. Also, he's got no Europe, so he's got time on the coaching field, which I think is valuable, because let's be honest, when you're playing Saturday, Wednesday, Sunday, or whatever, you've got to recover, you've got recovery time, you've got all that now. So if Arsenal play Saturday, but sometimes it'd be a Friday, and then they ain't got to play to the Sunday. So they've got plenty of time to recover, plenty of time to train, plenty of time to coach. There should be an improvement on every single Arsenal player come the end of this season. From that point of view, they should be a lot fresher than when you go into April, March, May, round about that area. Like, I've got that round the wrong way, but you know what I mean. That we should be fresher because the other teams are still playing in Europe. All that travelling and everything like that, we ain't got to do. I think that the players should be more coached, more drilled, so we should be in a better position in those important months than we've ever been. And there's no excuses for that now, and I expect to see that. But ultimately, he's still got to have his players Turkish that he wants to have. And if he feels that it's Abrahams, it might not even be Abrahams. This could be all a big decoy for somebody else, saying like, we're going to go for Abrahams, and the other people panicking because he's not going to get the man that we want. We don't know what's going on. But ultimately, we need to be putting the right areas of the field, the certain players that we do, and coaching needs to be provided for those players. And I want to see that. I want to see us from this month. I want to see us in a certain standard, which you expect from a coaching philosophy. But I want to see come the end of September, October, an improvement in this team, an improvement in the way they're playing. And if I'm not seeing that then I'll be on to that Mikel Arteta again on that.
Just to add to Lee's point there as well, I think the main reason Arteta came in is because he was cheap. But I think the other big reason why Arteta was appointed was because of his work on the training ground. And I know for a fact at Manchester City, they spoke really highly of him as a coach. And even when Arsenal lost him initially as a player to go to City, they were gutted because they knew that he was a guy that had a really good coaching brain. Now, as Arsenal fans, as Lee makes the point, there's no Europe this year. So if you can't get the results necessarily that are going to be fire us up the table, what I then want to see is players getting better. You've got time now. So as Arsenal fans, let's put targets on him. Let's say, right, the World Cup is next year. Get Rob Holding in that World Cup squad. You've got Partey. Make Partey the best African midfielder in the world. You were an attacking midfielder, Mikel Arteta. Get Emile Smith-Rowe in that England squad, because those are the metrics that I would judge him by as a coach. If he can improve Callum Chambers, if he can improve Mari, improve Ben White, make Ben White the main centre back at the World Cup next year. That's a crazy shout right now, but going into the World Cup next year, there's no reason why Ben White can't be on par with Maguire and Stones with a bit of coaching. So that's what I'm looking to see from Mikel Arteta as well. Your main attribute is not experience, not that you're a winner, it's that you're a really good coach. Now you have the time and the young, impressionable players to be able to really show us how good a coach you really are.
I want to get this comment in from James. He says the problem with a champagne taste and a beer budget is that you forget what champagne tastes like. One signing before the end of the window to keep us on side. I don't know about to keep me on side, James, but yeah, a lot of people are saying one signing would obviously, change the swing of things. I want to, before we move on to Brentford, because we're more than half an hour in, make sure you guys hit the like button if you haven't already. If you want to see Fourever Arsenal back on the YouTube channel, make sure you hit the like button and show Robbie what's what so he can see
Come
the
on,
numbers.
man. Let's get on that YouTube thing, man.
That's
Let
it.
us know. Slap the button, subscribe, share it. Come on, guys and girls. Let's go.
I want to ask you, Free, because I haven't got many opinions on this so far because it kind of came and went. And when Arteta mentioned, I think post-Tottenham game, there's no point talking about what we don't have. We have to work with what we have. Is that some people saw that as his way of saying he's not being backed? Some people are just saying it is what it is. I want James. Let's start with you. Like, what was your thoughts on those comments?
That I'm kind of done reading into anything Arteta says in press conferences and stuff because, let me say this: I appreciate that managers and coaches have a duty to, let's say, spin the truth slightly to us because they've got to look after their strength in negotiations, or they've got to look after certain people at the club, or whatever it might be. But there's been quite a lot of evidence of Arteta saying things that have seemed blatantly untrue. And I'm not saying he's not got good reason for saying it. I think of sort of the Ozil stuff. I think of, I don't know, a few things. So when he said that, I just didn't really read into it. It didn't sound great. But I didn't really read into it. But then someone made a great point, right? They said, I think it was online I saw someone saying, why is he answering that question like he's the head coach? He's a manager. He's been promoted to manager. So it very much is his job to worry about who we're bringing in. It's different if you're a head coach. Like, I can only do what I can, so I'm going to focus on that. Him and Edu are responsible together for recruitment. So maybe on that side it was slightly disappointing. But I don't read too much into it anymore. I don't know if you guys do, but I don't anymore. I sort of take it all with a pinch of salt.
I don't listen to what he says. Like, I mean, actions speak louder than anything at this moment, and that's what I'm looking for. I'm looking for actions. I'm looking for actions on the park, and I'm looking for actions from results. And I do believe that sometimes, if you are going for a player, you can't really go around and say, yes, we're going to sign him and all that. There's a little bit of kidology to it, so I'm not really interested in all that. Listen, and people are saying it in the chat that I'm trying to make excuses. We're not making excuses here. We're just trying to see the philosophy of what they're trying to do. Come that first game of the season, if they are not playing well, I will be on to Arteta because he's allowed this to happen. James is right. He's the manager. He's part of the crew. He feels he's got enough players to go on to win at Brentford. Ultimately, when the transfer window finishes, then it's down on the owners and everybody. And I can tell you, if Arsenal don't start winning games and winning performances, I'm going to be on them straight away. No excuse. There's no excuses for Mikel Arteta, this football club, if they do not start picking up results because they've allowed this to happen. And that is my view at this moment in time. But until that window shuts, I can't turn around and go bang, bang, bang because it is what it is until that window shuts.
Jordan?
Yeah, I'm with James. I don't really pay attention anymore to what the rhetoric. I think Mikel Arteta is becoming a master of spinning what needs to be spun. It's one of the things that a lot of my friends who support Arsenal don't back him because they think that he's got the job off the basis of, fancy words and pretty hair. Do you know what I mean? He knows how to talk to people. He knows how to tell you what you need to hear. So again, with Lee, I don't care. Win the games, show improvement. Let's go. All the talk is I don't engage in it anymore.
I think every single answer you, Lee and James have provided speaks volumes because I think we all, looked into what he was saying at the first half of his contract so far, and we sit here now kind of fobbing it off, saying, it is what it is. Essentially, he's another puppet. AT Football saying starting a new season with Bellerin, Holden, etc. still here and part of the squad. Deadwood remains unsorted. Next summer, what happens? Laka contract done, and Oba with a year left. Don't trust this club. And that's what I mentioned earlier, AT, about the striker situation being a lot more difficult than we really can see right now. Like we need to understand we're not getting back into the top 4 under Oba's current contract, which is the next 2 years. So we need to think about the next striker that's going to help us do that. And yes, we've mentioned Tammy Abraham, and yes, we've said that there's not a lot of options out there, but it is what it is. Let's move on to Brentford now. 40 minutes in, we're at 650 likes. Make sure it gets to 1,000 likes before the show ends. Who's excited about Friday?
Woo! Yeah.
I'm excited about. Sorry, I'll go first. I'm excited about fans back in the grounds. You know, I think, and for reasons that we're aware of the last couple of years, you know, football fans can be the best and worst thing about football. Do you know what I mean? So, but I am excited to see fans back in the ground. I'm excited to see weirdly enough, the Brentford fans, because it's their first time in the Premier League. It's their first time in their brand new stadium. That's going to be an atmosphere that's going to be off the chain for them. There'll be music, there'll be balloons. It's going to be a massive party for them. And if I take my Arsenal hat off for a second, just watching that spectacle does excite me to some degree, because it's a new club that, from what I've seen of them, play good football that I like to watch. So from that side of things, I'm excited to see Brentford's journey. I don't know if you want us to give our predictions about how the game's going to go now or later, but
yeah, we'll do that at the end.
Okay, well, but overall, I think seeing fans back in the ground is what I'm excited about generally this coming opening weekend.
Okay, James, you want to elaborate on that? Woo!
Slight sarcasm, maybe. I always like having. See, it's such a poisonous relationship that despite everything, I still get excited about watching Arsenal and a new season and all that. I mean, I remember I was like a giddy child when I went back to the Emirates for the Brighton home game. We just had the worst season, knocked out of everything, winning. The best we could have hoped for that day, I'm not even sure it was the best, was that we get Conference League football. And I'm at the Emirates like, woo, we're back, you know. Because that's how the club makes you feel. That's why you love it and everything. But we're not ready. We're not ready for it. And this isn't just a case of... Everything Jordan says absolutely spot on. Brentford are also a good team. Like, they've got good players who I think will move on from Brentford into top 10, top 6, maybe top 4 sides. I think Thomas Frank will have a good managerial career. Like, I think they're a good side. And on that alone, this is going to be a really difficult game. But I'm always blindly optimistic we might turn up and play well and win, because it feels like not that long ago that we used to do that. So yeah, listen, we're not ready, but of course I'm happy it's back. I'm really excited it's back. It's been fun at work. It's been fun just kind of having something to look forward to, like waking up on a Monday morning thinking, the weekend, Premier League football this weekend. So we'll see what happens. Ask me how I feel at 10 p.m. on Friday night. That's
I'm sure one of us will be asking you, whether it's Robbie, Cecil, or me. We'll be live at some point to see how we're feeling. Toby says, I'm excited about seeing Arteta and Edu gone before Christmas. Lee, what do you want to see this? What do you want to see this Friday? As well as your thoughts, is there any particular players any formation? You know, what do you want to see from us this Friday?
I want to see us top of the league before the game starts, because we are, and I want to see us top of the league at the end of it. Like, you know what I mean? That's as simple as that, like, you know. And I don't mean with a point. I expect us to win on Friday night, because Arsenal should be winning those sort of games. Am I excited about the season? No, I'm not. Why am I not excited? Because they've done nothing in this transfer window to make me excited that we're going to come anything better than 8th. You know, the last time we had a poor season like this and was out of Europe was in the 94-95 season. We signed Dennis Bergkamp that season. I was excited. You know what? I wasn't just excited about going and watching Arsenal. I was excited about going and watching a top draw player. Now, ultimately, right, Bergkamp wasn't the big superstar at that time. His stock had dropped a little bit because of Inter Milan, but he was still a big player, and no one was turning around saying at that moment in time, and let me tell you this now, oh, he's not good enough for Inter Milan, so we're not good enough for Arsenal. Like, it was an exciting big move, and that's what I still expect Arsenal to do. Before I'm ever going to get excited at this football club. I'm not excited, if I'll be honest, by the manager. I'm not excited by the coaching systems at the moment. So I want to be excited by players, and that's what genuinely excites you. Takes you all over that. You've got a sort of exciting player. You don't care about the coach so much because you're watching that player, and then things develop. And that's what happened with Dennis Bergkamp. He come along, took us to, not just him, but no one really talked about Bruce Rioch and what was going on there. Dennis Bergkamp. He also made players better around him. So I think that's something that we need to get in. Someone that's going to come in and make us better. Now, if you look at Manchester United with Bruno Fernandes, they brought him in there. Whether you think he's great or whether that, he made Man United tick, and he also made players play about him. That is what we need. Until we get somebody in there that's going to excite me, I'm not excited about the season. Do you know what? Because, I know what's coming. I know what's coming. Defeats, me being miserable. You know what I mean? Like, I don't have no pets because of that reason. Like, you know what I mean? Because I don't want to be upsetting them. Like, you know what I mean? Like, I avoid it because I know what's coming with the weekends. Misery. Well, I feel this now, I'll be really honest about this. Really honest. I'm going into the season knowing that we go up to Manchester City, we're not winning. I know we're not going to win that game. I know that, even if they've got no bloody centre forward, we ain't going to win that game. I want to go into games where I want to go back to games when I believe that Arsenal can win every single game. Whether that's stupid or not, that's what I want. I want my belief that Arsenal can win. So that when we do lose, I am angry and annoyed because I don't get angry and annoyed when Arsenal lose now because there's an expectation. I want that change back. I want to go to games thinking, right, we're going to win this game, and coming out furious because we haven't. Not going in there and sitting around with my mates and going, well, we expected that, didn't we? Really? Come on, you can't expect us to beat Chelsea. You can't expect us to beat Man City. You know what I mean? We go to Leicester away. Oh, well, if we get a point there, that's a great result. I want my expectations brought back. Until that, I will never be excited.
But
I'm in charge of that.
You know what is something to be excited about? This might sound this might sound horrible, but kind of just sit with me here for a sec.
What you do in your nightlife, I don't think we need to know.
No. Just hear me out. If Arsenal hit the ground running, we're all going to be excited. We're all going to enjoy it. Great. But either way, it feels like we're approaching a conclusion not a conclusion, but we're approaching like a kind of moment of truth where
that bang Arteta talks about. Remember, and he said bang. This is the bang now, and the season starts. Is it going to be a bang and you're done, or is it going to be a bang and we're proven
That's
wrong?
kind of what I'm trying to say. Like, either it's going to work. He'll have had his first full summer transfer window, his first full pre-season. He's made loads of signings now. It's all going to come together, and bam, we're going to see the Arsenal we want. Or with the money that's been spent so far, forget what's yet to come if it does. With the money that's been spent so far in a pandemic, we've seen how difficult it's been for clubs to sell and to buy, unless you're Man City, Chelsea, Man United. I think the Cronkies might be at a point where it's like, listen, Mikel, we'll back you. But if by October, November, this isn't looking good, you could be gone. And then it's the start of another process for Arsenal. And I know it's not what we want, but almost ultimately, I think what was so difficult for Arsenal fans last season was knowing kind of no matter how bad this gets, they're going to keep backing the current regime. They're going to stick with it. We've got to see it through to the end of the season. Whereas now it feels like maybe there is, we all want it to go well. If it doesn't, you feel like something might be done about it. Now, I'm not saying that's something to look forward to. It's not. We don't want that. But at least you feel like a change might come this time. Whereas before, I think we kind of all knew it wouldn't. Do you get what I'm trying to say? I'm not saying here, let's be excited, our manager might get sacked. That's not what I'm trying to say. But at least something might happen this time.
Yeah, no. I do get you. So, I do understand how you're looking at it. It's just kind of back to what
you're looking forward to it. Come on, let's have your views here.
Yeah, I'm gonna get onto that. I'm
Come
gonna
on,
get onto
go
that,
ahead.
Lee. You know already how I'm feeling about it. You
I
already
know,
know
but
how I'm feeling about it.
I want everybody else to know. Come on, throw it out.
We're not ready, number
Share,
one.
share.
We're not ready, number one. But if you want me to pick out some positives first, I want to see Lokonga. I want to see Ben White. But as much as I'm excited about Ben White and Lokonga, I'm nervous about our right back situation. I'm nervous about not having Thomas Partey. I'm nervous about our strikers not, finding form in pre-season. So there's more things I'm nervous about moving into Friday than I am excited about. And I'm going to touch on Brentford again, but on James's point, and what you said earlier, Lee, in terms of waiting until the 31st of August, do you know why? On one hand, I understand it, and it is the fair way to look at it. It's the fair thing to do. You give them the transfer window and then you make a decision. But every mistake we make becomes an excuse for the next manager. And it becomes an excuse for the next person in the role. And by that, I mean, we know we've made a mistake with Willian. We might bring in Ramsdale now. It's probably going to be a mistake. We might sack Arteta in November. Someone comes in December. It's not going to be Conte. It's going to be someone that you're not too sure of. And then we're going to give that man the excuses of, well, he needs to sort out Willian. He needs to sort out Ramsdale. He needs to sort out Xhaka, who just is on the verge of a 4-year contract. So every mistake they make now, as much as it's fair to give them the chance to, I feel like the amount of mistakes they've made before, I need this club to eliminate those risks now. It's not about Arteta for me, because in my honest opinion, Arteta will be sacked at some point this season, because this season's not going to go the way it should go. And that's up from 8th. But in all honesty, the next manager will have the excuses of Xhaka on a 4-year contract. Our striking situation is not fixed yet. We got 4 right backs where none of them are really competent enough in that position for us to really get behind one. So as much as we want to allow them to make the mistakes to dig their own grave, it's not necessarily digging their own grave. They're making excuses for the next year or two. And that's what really I struggle with. And that's the roundabout I talk about all the time, because this has been going on for a long time. It's not only Xhaka, Bellerin, and these men that I've been fed up of. I was fed up of people before Xhaka was even in the squad, because this dates back 10 years. But the constant roundabout we're in, I'm starting another season where I'm not optimistic at all. And that's not due to me. I don't go in not wanting to be optimistic. I want to be optimistic. When we signed Pepe that summer, I kind of lost myself a bit in terms of, I was like, whoa, 70 million. Pepe is someone I wanted. I didn't think we could get him. Let me see how it works out. In the end, I fooled myself, and it's not going to happen again. Imagine we went into a season with Pepe, it didn't work out. Partey, our top signing, it didn't work out. This season, we're going in with Ben White and maybe Aaron Ramsdale. How the fuck is that going to work out? I just can't see it. But Brentford this Friday, go on, who's gone?
Because when people say, but the Kroenkes have spent money, yes, they have, absolutely. But because the job's never been done, it's never been completed. I've had so many windows. This goes back to the Wenger days where we knew we needed a couple players, 1 maybe 2 come in, but you need that third. You know it makes a difference. Last summer was a great example. Turkish, how many times have we spoken about this? The whole Partey and Aouar thing. Partey or Aouar? Partey or Aouar? What do you mean or? They're complete different players. What do you mean or? We need both. And we knew we needed both. And actually, people kind of like to, that stat that came out, since Smith Rowe came in the team, or since January, Arsenal are second in the table for form or whatever, right? People like to laugh and say, yeah, but it's not, half a season isn't the full season. Yeah, no, we know that. We all know that. But doesn't it prove the point that if we'd addressed a certain position, we'd have been a much better team? And once we got Smith Rowe, we did. And this is where Turkish, that's why I get everything you're saying. Yeah, we brought in Partey, we brought in Pepe. We never go the whole hog. We never do. So great, Ben White, 50 mil. You clearly really rate Ramsdale. Cool, I'll get behind all that. Tavares, Lokonga, great. But complete the job. Just complete the job. That's what Arteta do and the Kroenkes. Complete it, and then we can actually see what this manager's about, and we can see what this club's about. But I fear we'll be left short, like we always are.
100%. And one more worrying point I want to bring out, and I bring this out because my whole thing with Arsenal is not only spend money, but do it proactively. Go in aggressively into the market, sort out what you need to sort out. Don't look at other clubs as excuses or whatever. You know, just focus on you for once. But you know what? It's not even a but. It's just another situation where we're reactive. We're heading into the last 3 weeks where we have to still plug the majority of the priorities we had heading into the transfer window. So it's just another reactive situation. And the good work we have done, and this is a positive, yeah. So if you want to clip this is a positive, yeah. We've re-signed our young players to new.
Oh, hang on. Let me record it. Hang on.
Take out your phone. Listen, is the lighting all right? Do I need any? This is a positive at Arsenal Football Club. Emil Smith-Rowe, Saka, Tierney, Martinelli, and Balogun have all signed new contracts. Yeah, can we all agree that's a positive?
Yeah, totally.
Yes. But Gabriel's a positive.
It wouldn't be me without a but in that.
Hang on, the butt's coming.
The butt's coming. Hang on. And the but is, if you don't make this overhaul quicker, you're going to be left trying to renew these contracts you're getting praised for in the next 2-3 years. And I'll pick out Saka as the prime example, yeah? Saka signed a long-term contract, right? Next season, he's in his last 2 years. So next summer, Saka's got 2 years left on his contract. When a player has 2 years left in his contract, they have the power, especially when you're a young player in his position developing. Now, I've got no doubts that he wants to stay at this club and the support he's received from us following the World Cup and, you know, all of the racial abuse and online abuse and whatnot. I'm sure that will play a part too, because as a fan base, we're very supportive of the players we love. But at the end of the day, players also want to win. So as much as we praise them for these contracts, we can't dwell on that. That's yesterday's news. What's happening now? What's happening tomorrow and next week? Because next year, them contracts are not going to mean nothing because they're going to have the power again. I would have given Saka a new contract off the back of these Euros. Straight away, I would have re-signed him to a new contract, 5-year deal, give him more wages, because that's the sensible thing to do. But again, we're not sensible with it. And that's just the worry I'm having for next year. Never mind the worries I'm having for this one coming up. But we're going to kind of go into predictions now because we've got a few minutes. James, did you want to say something there?
Well, I was just going to say, you know, and to round off with another positive, although they come from me a little bit more than from you, Turkish. But
I don't know about that.
Ooh.
I'm joking. No, because everyone always laughs at me for being a bit deluded and overly positive, but I'm going to keep adding to it. But you're absolutely right. That is a massive positive that I think sometimes the transfer business we do is overlooking actually how good that was, that we tied down Smith-Rowe, Martinelli, Saka, Balogun, all these players. Aubameyang wanted to commit, Partey, Gabriel, White, all signed. And I think the big point is, and you add it to the point we made about Arsenal actually spending 24 million on Ramsdale. Well, if we are, it looks like we're about to. What are they all signing for? Like it's got to tell you that there's some ambition that they're being sold at the club. Do you know what I mean? Like, surely they're all being told something. Tierney as well. They're being told something that makes them go, yeah, I want to commit. Tierney didn't need to commit. He only signed 2 years ago. But something must be telling them all, yeah, there's a reason for me to stay. So I just wanted to build on that. But Turkish, I know you're very positive. Don't worry.
See how positive his prediction thing, because he won it last year. See how positive.
Yeah,
let's
exactly.
go.
Hey. No, sorry, Lee, you was cracking up there. What'd you say?
I said we'll see how positive you are now. Don't you start winding me up and giving it.
Did you say I won it last year?
Yeah, I know.
I thought so.
He's giving it large. Listen, as the title holder, you go first. We'll let Jordan go last because he's a new addition. So you can go first.
Okay.
This is where we are.
I'm predicting a 2-2 draw. I'm sitting right on the fence.
That's positive for Turkish. That is positive.
2-2 draw. I think Tony will cause us some problems. And like I said, I just feel that I haven't seen enough from pre-season to say that there's enough players in form that make me confident against Brentford. So I'm going to sit on the fence and say a 2-2. In all honesty, if I had to swing to one side, it would be Arsenal, and I'd say Arsenal will go away with the win. But it's a difficult one to really measure and weigh up because all I can judge off is pre-season, and pre-season doesn't really mean much. We've had great pre-seasons in the past and finished 8th in the season coming. So I'm going for a 2-2, Lee. I hope that's positive.
That's very positive. I have to go next because I come above James. Is that correct? We're going that right, So there's no pressure on you, Jordan, but James is bottom of the league.
Yeah.
Okay.
I'm really
Definitely.
bad.
I'm going to be positive. I think Arsenal will nick it. I think. Do you know why? Because I'm thinking that Arsenal put. Heart is sort of saying 2-1 to Arsenal. Head saying 2-2. I agree with Turkish, but I'm going to go Arsenal. Brentford 1, Arsenal 2.
Cool. Who are we going to next? Let's go to you, James.
His head's rolling his heart here. I can see it. I can see it.
The stats are rolling through his mind. He's thinking shit.
You know that meme with all the kind of numbers and all
The matrix
graphs?
behind.
I'm going to go 2-0 Arsenal.
Ooh, banging with the positivity.
I couldn't tell you why. It's all based on hope.
So we got a 2-2, a 2-1, and a 2-0. Jordan, are you gonna pair up with anyone's?
Are you going to go Brentford? That's why I'm really. Is he looking to win this tournament?
3-2 Brentford. 3-2 Brentford.
Yeah.
I think Arsenal lose this game. I think for all the reasons that we've given, they're not prepared. Couple of players are injured. I don't think Saka will start or even play, and I don't think you should give the guy a break. Give him a couple of more weeks off. I think Brentford will be bang up for it. I think they'll cause us problems at the back. I don't know who our starting centre backs are going to be. Right back, I think we're awful. I think we lose this game, and I'm just being honest. I can't see Arsenal getting anything from this match. I'm going 3-2 Brentford.
Someone's getting a point.
Yeah, someone's getting a point somewhere. Definitely, we got one loss predicted, one draw predicted, and 2 wins predicted, and different wins at that. So we might have an out-and-out leader after the first week.
I've gone with bloody James. He's bottom of the league last year. Oh dear.
Wherever James goes, I'm going the opposite. And you know what? To be honest with you, last season, the winner of that league was meant to win a new Arsenal shirt. Because I don't want to buy merchandise and I don't want no one to spend in the club shop, I still haven't decided what it is. The first, the first one was, shall I get, my son something? He's only 6 months. He's not really a part of this whole Cronk Out movement yet. But then you'd still be spending money in the club shop. So I feel like I still need to deliberate on it. If not, maybe a cash gift will do. But I'll get back to you, Lee and James, on that one. Yeah.
Listen, we're more than willing to wait and for whatever you want. We know what it is, what it will be. But what is the prize again if you do win and we buy an Arsenal shirt? If that is what's required, So start saving, James. Start saving.
Yeah. Great.
I hope you guys have enjoyed. Listen, people in the chat, we're 30 likes away from 1,000. So before the show ends, make sure you get it to 1,000. I hope you guys have enjoyed. Jordan, Lee, James, as always, thank you for coming on. If you want to catch more of us, this is a regular show on AFTV VIP. So make sure you check us out if you haven't already. And yeah, we'll try and get back on the channel as soon as possible because I think an international break is coming up. So that might be a good time to talk to you guys again. Love for the love people. Until the next time we are out. Love and peace. Take care.